Anthropic Claude just released its new product for enterprise, Claude for Enterprise. So I think a lot of people are going to be talking now. Should we be looking at Anthropic Claude? Maybe your company is on Microsoft 365 Copilot. Maybe your team has been using ChatGPT for Teams or Enterprise, and you might be thinking, okay, well, is Anthropic Claude now the large language model that we should be using as a company? Well, I'm going to go ahead and answer that today and say no, and also give you 3 reasons that businesses should not be using Anthropic Claude, at least just yet. All right, what's going on, y'all? My name's Jordan Wilson, and this is Everyday AI. Welcome. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. This is a daily live stream, podcast, and free daily newsletter helping us all learn and leverage generative AI to grow our companies and to grow our careers. So if that sounds like you, if you aren't already, make sure you join that free newsletter. Go to youreverydayai.com. Every single day, we bring you the news, the fresh finds from all across the AI world, as well as exclusive insights, breaking down our podcast every day, whether it's me going solo or having world-class guests on the show. You can find it all only in our daily newsletter. All right, so I'm excited today to talk about the 3 reasons why I think businesses should not be using Anthropic Claude's enterprise plan just yet. But got to shout out our audience. And hey, let me know, audience, what is your company using? Let me know. Is your company using ChatGPT? Is your company using Microsoft 365 Copilot? Are you all using Google Gemini? Are you using Claude Anthropic? Do you have your own model? I'm curious. I want to know, but let's just get straight into a quick recap here of what Claude Enterprise even is, what it entails, and I'm going to tell you the 3 reasons why I don't think enterprise companies should be using it. All right, so Claude Enterprise, one of the biggest things here is it features an impressive context window of 500,000 tokens, enabling the processing of extensive data sets. As an example, that's 200,000 lines of code or a 2-hour audio transcript in a single prompt. Yeah, that's wild. And that's obviously much larger than the current context window offered by ChatGPT Enterprise and Claude's team plan, which are less than half the size. Yeah, we've done official, we do consulting and front-end strategy for companies. So we tested ChatGPT Enterprise. They say it's 125,000 tokens. It's roughly about 118,000 tokens. So more than 3x that almost from Claude Enterprise. So pretty impressive in terms of the amount of data that it can work with. So the new enterprise offering obviously includes Claude's highlight features such as projects and artifacts, which serve as collaborative workspaces for users to upload and edit content, making it ideal for long-term projects involving multiple data sources and team members. Also, a new announcement here from Claude Enterprise. It does integrate or will be integrating with GitHub, allowing engineering teams to sync their repositories directly with the AI. And this feature is particularly beneficial for onboarding new engineers, developing new features, or troubleshooting bugs. The other thing here, it's obviously big with team control. So businesses can assign a primary owner for their workspace who can manage access levels and monitor the activity for security and compliance purposes, similar to that feature functionality found inside of OpenAI's ChatGPT Enterprise, or obviously in 365 Claude. 365 Copilot from Microsoft. Here's the other thing, though. The price of Claude Enterprise remains undisclosed. More on that in a bit. But it is expected to be higher than Anthropic's team plan, which costs $30 per user per month. So the increased cost obviously reflects the additional features and capabilities offered to enterprise clients. So Anthropic did announce yesterday that they've been in a private beta with early adopters such as GitLab and Midjourney, indicating a cautious but strategic rollout. All right. So, and despite all these advancements, Anthropic is facing challenges in gaining broader adoption in a competitive landscape where API pricing pressures are prevalent. The success of Claude Enterprise will depend on its ability to attract a significant user base to offset high inference costs. All right, and just so you guys know, when we are talking about these products for enterprise, we are talking about the front end systems. Okay, so we are not talking about back end development and your developers using the API and tapping into your own knowledge base. That's not what we're talking about here. We are talking about front end consumer products, right? So the everyday business person, as an example, logging on to ChatGPT Enterprise, logging on to your Microsoft 365 Copilot, logging on to now Claude Enterprise. All right, let me just skip to the end, y'all. I'm going to skip to the end. Here's 3 reasons, and we're going to dive into these more. I'm going to go over the pros and the cons. And if I'm being honest, this show, I'm doing it somewhat selfishly because I know that I'm going to be fielding a lot of calls because companies reach out to us when they want to learn prompt engineering, when they want to learn AI, when they want to, implement Microsoft Copilot, right? We just talked with a company earlier this week that wants us to train over the long term up to 70,000 employees. So we hear from a lot of enterprise customers because that's what we do, right? Yeah, we bring you everyday AI free every day, but companies pay us to help them implement tools like ChatGPT, like Claude, like Microsoft Copilot. And I cannot recommend right now, if I'm being honest, I can't recommend Anthropic Claude to any enterprise clients. And here's why, and we're going to dive into these in a little bit. Here's the 3 reasons. Number 1, no internet access. I can't stress this enough, okay? You have to have real-time connectivity to the world if you are using a large language model. I understand how large language models work, right? I understand they're different than search engines. But when you look at the main competitors, right? Because that's ultimately what this is about. Enterprise customers, they're shopping around, right? They're obviously building on top of these companies' APIs because the price wars is bringing these down, to compute too cheap to meter, right? But for front-end users, you have to look at the competition. And Google with its Gemini, ChatGPT, or OpenAI with ChatGPT, Microsoft with Copilot, they all offer some form of real-time internet access, right? Claude doesn't. 0 as of today. Wild. I cannot underestimate from a business perspective, right? And you can say, oh, okay, well, users should always know. You should always just bring in the most up-to-date data. They're not going to do it, right? You have to work into account user error or sometimes user laziness, right? So if you are not connected to the internet, a large language model, yes, that is not for enterprise. Period. And I will continue to say that. I don't know why Claude hasn't implemented real-time internet accessibility or access, right? They have a $4 billion in funding from Amazon, one of the leaders in the internet. We do know they announced, Amazon's going to be using Claude for its future versions of Alexa, its AI smart assistant. So we know the capabilities to marry the Claude technology with real-time information must exist, right? And it exists in the other products. So I don't care. I don't care what your reasoning or rationale is. Oh, Jordan, you can just upload all the documents you need. Okay, well, documents change, right? Information changes weekly, daily, hourly. A real enterprise business needs a large language model that has access to information real time, period, hard stop. If I'm being honest, I'm not going to recommend Anthropic Claude to literally any enterprise client that pays us to be like, hey, Jordan, help us with an AI strategy. We want a front-end large language model. Claude's not in the consideration. It's not. You can't. It is dangerous for a company. I'm saying it right there. It is dangerous because employees do not check. They do not verify. They take, unfortunately, what comes out of a large language model as copy and paste truth. All right. Yes, there's still obviously problems with, ChatGPT and Copilot and Gemini in terms of retrieving real-time information. And yes, there's still likelihood for hallucinations and things that are just wrong. But you gotta have that to play. It's like the minimum height for a roller coaster, right? It doesn't matter how effective the real-time internet accessibility is. If you don't have it, you don't get to play in the enterprise, period. Reason number 2, limited third-party integrations. All right? There's one right now. There's one. And it's not even for everyone. GitHub, right? More on that in a second. But you have to bring integrations that enterprise companies use daily, right? That's the whole thing, right? And I talk about how right now ChatGPT and technically by proxy, Microsoft Copilot, they're business operating systems. And I think Google Gemini is getting there, although there's some problems with connectivity. But you have to bring in all of the tools and software and processes that your employees are already using. If a large language model can't fit into a workflow, it shouldn't be a part of the workflow. So with such limited integrations, I don't think that this should be used for the most part. All right. And when I'm saying this, y'all, I'm talking about 90%. I'm talking about 90% of enterprise businesses or enterprise companies. Are there going to be 10% where Anthropic's Claude is an absolute no-brainer? For sure. But I'm talking top to bottom implementation, right? So yeah, like as an example, development teams. This is great, right? I'm talking about for an entire enterprise company here. Reason number 3, the other tiers are too limited to test. Okay. Hey, someone from Anthropic, if you're listening, you guys should know this. This is how it happens. All right. This is how large language model implementation at the enterprise happens. Usually, very early on, a couple of rogue users are going to start to use a large language model, probably before they have official permission to do it. Okay, they're going to find some great productivity gains. They're going to start using it department wide. Maybe it starts to become a little more official, and then eventually, board signs off, C-suite signs off, AI, ethics and guardrails, safety, AI policy, all that falls into place. And then it becomes an enterprise offering, right? And then essentially companies will offer, enterprise accounts to, sometimes a couple hundred test users, a couple thousand test users. And then they kind of figure it out, right? But right now, the free and even the base paid plan for Anthropic Claude is so limited in terms of the messaging limit. Y'all, I kid you not. We've had since it launched the baseline paid plan for Claude. The rate limit, especially when using some of its more powerful features that have come out, which I love, and I'm going to get to, 20 to 30 minutes tops. And then you're locked out for 4 hours. Come on. You can't be serious. You can't be serious. If you want adoption from enterprise companies, you got to give them a taste, right? And you can say, oh, well, yeah, Jordan, on the free plan, you can even do a couple messages. Okay, well, you can't figure out hardly anything in a couple of messages. You can't, right? Literally, we've burned through our paid account in less than 20 minutes. That's not serious. That's not serious. That's like, if you want adoption, if you want to compete in the enterprise game, you have to give people enough on a basic paid plan to see if it works for their needs. You can't do that right now. It's, if you go search, go read online forums, Quora, Reddit, Twitter, etc. It's probably the number one complaint about Claude is people are like, hey, as soon as we started testing it, we're locked out. The limits are comically low. All right. So, what's everyone using? Hey, Brooke, first time listener, says we don't use any of it. Monica says Copilot. Dennis says ChatGPT for Teams. Yeah, so let me know, what is anyone using anything at the enterprise level? So I know that might have sounded a little harsh, but if you tune into Everyday AI, I want you to have the reality, okay? I want you to have the truth. No holds barred. But don't get me wrong, Claude is good. Anthropic Claude is super impressive. All right. The artifacts feature, which we've covered many times on the show, we've on our YouTube channel, we've shown you some amazing ways to use artifacts. Artifacts is by far the most underutilized and probably, if I'm being honest, one of the most impressive features of any large language model, bar none. The artifacts feature, right? And so if you haven't used it, essentially what happens is you can chat with Claude, and on the right-hand side, it can render code, right? That's amazing. So you can, go into ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini and you can write code, right? But then what you have to do is you have to copy and paste it. You have to go into something like Replit, run it, do some troubleshooting, or use a tool like GitHub, right? So you have to use kind of a more developer-focused large language model or AI-powered tool. Claude with artifacts, it's mind-blowing. You can literally create entire websites with a single prompt, render them, see how they look, play around with them. You can build little apps, in Python, JavaScript, if you want to go old school, CSS, HTML, etc. In a single prompt, you can build anything, even on your phone. Don't get me wrong. That is mind-boggling. And that is why I said, for maybe 10% of companies, right? If you are essentially a development company, or if you're looking at this on a teams level, right? Claude is great, but top to bottom, no. But the artifacts feature is unmatched, right? We got to highlight what's good out of Claude because it's amazing. The context window, even with the paid version, the context window is better than ChatGPT. And y'all, 500,000 tokens, a 500,000 token context window for the enterprise version. That's nuts, y'all. That's nuts. So yeah, I talked about that. That's 200,000 lines of code that you can have a conversation with, or as an example, a 2-hour audio transcript in a single prompt, right? That's like you can speak with your company's entire knowledge base in many cases without having to float between multiple products, multiple GPTs. The context window is great. Projects are powerful. Claude Anthropic's projects, great tool. Very similar to, as an example, custom GPTs from OpenAI. Also what Google is trying to do with GEMS. We covered that last week. There's some shortcomings there, right? But essentially, Claude as well has a very easy way, no code, drag and drop. Any user out there can create a kind of customized, bespoke version of the big model. You can give it custom instructions, upload your files, and then, essentially you can create a ton of different versions of Anthropic's Claude, right? You can do something for, customer success. You can do something for marketing copy. You can do something for specific coding and upload your, company's repositories, etc. Right? So great free features that we get from Anthropic. And also the actual content writing out of the box is much better than ChatGPT, right? And I think people, and I'm going to get to that here in a second when we talk about the competitive landscape, but I think people just think, when I talk to Anthropic Claude, it sounds more natural. It sounds more like a human. It sounds less robotic. So people think that means Anthropic Claude is better. No, it's not. But Anthropic Claude is great in terms of giving you more realistic, human-sounding content. And when you're working with a large language model, because I'd say so many, I'd say more than half of use cases that we see are ultimately creating written content, right? Whether that's marketing copy, emails, SOPs, templates for contracts, etc., right? So you want something that writes well. But that is, again, y'all, using or thinking a large language model is for writing content, I think is like, using a Lamborghini as an umbrella, right? Oh, it's raining, better go get in a Lamborghini to stay dry. No. If a Lamborghini, it's meant to go fast. It's meant to take you places, right? That's what, like, an analogy I use sometimes when people think a large language model. Oh, We don't need help writing content. It's like, no, it can literally automate probably 80% of the manual knowledge work tasks that your company does. Literally. That's why so many, companies are going all in on large language models, because they understand that you can get probably about 80% of the work done in 20% of the time. It's not just writing. But you got to tip your hat to Anthropic's Claude for its ability to write great content out of the box. So yeah, don't get me wrong. It's not all bad. There's a lot of good. But let me also cut it to you straight. It's not Hot Take Tuesday, Michael. Yeah, Michael said, is today Tuesday because I'm dropping some fire. You know what? We did actually have the holiday this weekend, so read the news on Tuesday. So yeah, maybe I got some hot takes still in the tank. And y'all, let me know. It seems like we're having audio problems again. I'm sorry, y'all. But also, let me know, what questions do you have? If you have questions, I'm going to try to get to them at the end. But let me just cut it to you straight. I think Claude completely missed their enterprise go-to-market strategy here. All right? Are there things I don't understand? Absolutely. Are they going to improve the enterprise product? Yes. Obviously, they're going to improve the enterprise product. You only have one shot. You get one shot at a first impression. And the first impression, if you know what you're talking about, if you investigate top to bottom, very few enterprise companies have a actual reason, I think, top to bottom, again, to choose Anthropic's Claude over what's already out there in ChatGPT, in Microsoft Copilot, and in Google Gemini, and Google's Gemini across workspace. Okay, those three flaws that I mentioned, they're just too great. All right, you can't. If I'm being honest, right now, you go to market with those three flaws. Number one, no internet access. Number two, such limited third-party integrations. And number three, the tiers are too restrictive for even paid users. So how are you going to give people a taste of what it can do for their entire enterprise? And it's actually a little difficult to get the enterprise account. More on that in a second. But I think those three flaws are too great. I think they whiffed it, if I'm being honest. And like I said, Claude is not some unnamed startup here, right? It's founded by former OpenAI execs. They have $4 billion in support just from Amazon alone. And they should have figured these things out. Those three flaws at the minimum. They should have figured that out, y'all. And my biggest gripe, like I said, not having real-time internet access. You have a partnership with Amazon that kind of quite literally runs the internet, right? Probably whatever social media platform you're listening to now, or whatever podcast platform, my live streaming platform, they're all probably powered by AWS, Amazon Web Services. So the fact that Anthropic Claude couldn't get what I think is a bare minimum real-time internet access, it's mind-boggling to me. I'm sure they're going to release it any week, any month now. I mean, they have to, right? But the fact that they are going to market to the enterprise, right? That's your grand opening. That's your grand opening to the business world. Hey, we're open for enterprise. Missed it. All right. And I will say this. Normally, Claude has nailed its go-to-market, its rollouts, right? And let me just go ahead and give you guys the quick, and we're going to talk competitive landscape here in a second. I think Google has been kind of notorious, right? Especially with AI. They put out some great marketing videos. They tease a bunch of stuff, and then we have to wait many months, right? As an example, Google Gems just came out last week. It was announced 5 months ago, 4.5 months ago, right? It's not good. You get not as bad, but similar with Microsoft, and they've had some delays in some of their features for privacy concerns. So I get that piece. And I think OpenAI has also fallen victim to this, like, oh, we're announcing things and rollout's not really going to happen, right? Uh, the features exist because they're going out and, alpha rollouts or very limited beta access for some of their products like Search GPT, for some of their features like advanced voice mode, right? So some users are getting access to some of these features with OpenAI, but I'd venture to guess it's less than 1%, very limited rollout, right? But I think up until this point, Claude has been the opposite. I've loved the way that Anthropic has gone to market, right? We've seen that with their last kind of three big, you could say, with Claude 2, with Claude 3 or 3.5 Sonnet, and then with some of their features like projects and artifacts, right? They essentially just dropped them. They announced them and they said, oh, available for everyone today. So I don't think they nailed this rollout because number one, it's not ready. It's not ready for the enterprise. Number two, not even all the features are ready. And even access is a little cloudy. Cloudy. I didn't mean to do that. I'll say I did. So let's talk about this. Pricing is confusing. Y'all, that's one of the first things enterprise companies are going to want to look for. And the pricing is confusing. All right. Doesn't say on their website, which isn't, y'all, let me say this. That's not abnormal to not have enterprise pricing on a website, right? People want to get your company to sign up for a demo. They want to sell it to you, et cetera, right? But usually once that happens, they tell you, right? So as an example, ChatGPT Enterprise has a flat rate. That's what they charge. Claude, we're not sure what you got to pay. So this is from CIO Dive. So the website, shout out to them for getting this scoop. So I'm going to read this from their website, but it's quoting a product manager at Anthropic. Here we go. Pricing for the tool is customized to each organization's scale of use and depth of integration with company systems, Scott White, product manager at Anthropic, said in an email to CIO Drive. Organizations will work with our sales team to understand their unique use case and tailor a plan that offers the best value for their specific AI implementation goals. Oh, gosh. Podcast audience, you can't see this. I'm literally face palming. That's not how technology should work, because I'm already telling you this. That right there is going to turn off so many enterprise companies. Like, oh, there's not even a rate. It depends on what we use. Y'all, it's yes or no. Do you get a seat? How many seats? 50, 100, 10,000. And you get access to everything. All right. I'm sure there's reasons why they're trying to have this, per company pricing. Doesn't make sense. Maybe it's based on usage. That's definitely a possibility there. But put a tier on it. Okay, enterprise level 1 is this. Enterprise level 2, if you have crazy, if you're going to be using it a lot, here's what it is. Don't base it on a per company. That's wild. Y'all, makes zero sense. Again, that is going to scare away so many enterprise customers. At least say, starts at, $30 per seat, per user, per month, whatever. Right? I don't know. Is it going to be 50 for one company? Is it going to be 120 for another company? Is it going to fluctuate? Is it going to be a variable rate? Y'all, Anthropic, you only have one shot. This is not good. This is not good. If you don't control the narrative is going to be controlled for you. So what the narrative is probably going to be is, hey, no one knows anything about this Anthropic Enterprise. They're not being forthcoming, right? Not saying they're trying to hide anything, but if you're not being forthcoming, and the fact that you put out a statement like this saying pricing for the tool is customized to each organization's scale of use and depth of integration with company systems, that's bad. It's a bad look. At least say, hey, we have 3 different tiers. And depending on a company's use, we place them on one of those 3 tiers. To me, this is like, don't touch it. Don't touch it. If you're an enterprise company, this is the hottest space right now. Companies want large language models for their users. Yes, they want to build on the back end with their APIs, but they want front end. If you can't say, here's our pricing system, don't like it. And remember that one integration? That one integration? That's one of my gripes. It's not even live for everyone, apparently. So this is from someone at Anthropic, Alex Albert. All right. So he said, today we introduced Claude for Enterprise, the best way to securely work with Claude within your org. We're also launching a beta GitHub integration for early enterprise users. We plan to make this more broadly available to Claude.ai users later this year. So there we go again with the rollout, right? The go-to-market enterprise rollout. So number one, who is this available for? How much does it cost? Not sure. Number two, seems like there's a lot of features that aren't there that should be there. Number three, they're really pumping the GitHub feature, the GitHub integration, which I love, especially for development teams, but it looks like we're not getting it. Why not wait? Claude, Anthropic? Why not wait? I don't know. All right. Let's look at Marie says loss of transparency loses trust. I agree with that. Cyber here from YouTube said, agree with Jordan's points. Pay for ChatGPT and Perplexity, won't pay for Claude due to the limits. Yeah, the limits are mind-boggling. I don't understand it. All right, let's quickly talk about the competitive enterprise landscape. Before this announcement, right? So now obviously Claude is in the fold. But Microsoft 365 Copilot is the leader, bar none, right? If you don't know, they use the GPT-4o technology from OpenAI. All right, so if you have 365 Copilot enabled, it's not even close, right? That brings the most powerful model to your desktop, right? It brings it to your Outlook, to your Excel, to your PowerPoint, and all of those Microsoft programs can talk to each other and work with each other with your data up to date in real time. However, and I don't know why, so many companies aren't enabling it at the quote unquote Microsoft 365 Copilot level. They're only enabling kind of Copilot chat, right? So with that, it's like, oh, your company's data is secure and safe, but you're really just using it in the chat window and you're not getting access to Copilot across their enterprise of tools, which kind of, I'm not saying it defeats the purpose. It doesn't, because then it's still, kind of in theory on par with using, ChatGPT or using the tool in a web interface in a safe environment. All right. But, Microsoft 365 Copilot, when it is enabled across the enterprise, there's no competitor. There's no competitor. It's not close. All right. I'll say number two, ChatGPT Enterprise. Fantastic tool, y'all. And like one thing I love about ChatGPT Enterprise that I don't think we talk about, you can essentially, right? You have essentially a store, right? So that's just for your company. So everyone can go on there and create different GPTs for different purposes. And you can literally go on there as a ChatGPT Enterprise user, see what all of your teammates have built and instantly start clicking it and using it. Think it's like, let's say you have 10,000 coworkers from all over the world. And I love when companies are doing this. And this is something that we work with companies on. We encourage them, build GPTs for everything, put them in the store, have little 30-minute stand-ups once a week that talk about GPTs that you're building, the problems they solve, etc. Right? And then go in there, right? Smart companies are doing this. And you can go in there and see what other coworkers in your organization are building, the problems they solved, and start saving time immediately, right? Love that. I love that feature out of ChatGPT Enterprise, but also with working with other GPTs, the integrations are essentially unlimited, right? They are, right? Especially in the enterprise environment. And then you have Google Gemini. So I am hard on Google Gemini, yes, because I think for front-end users, it's not quite there. On the back end, it's amazing, right? Gemini 1.5 Pro, its context window, some of the features. I mean, it can, the multimodality inputs, mind-boggling, right? Front end, not quite there, right? And especially there's some I think some problems in the workspace when you're using it kind of at the company or organizational level. But that's kind of the competitive landscape right now. And then last but not least, right, when we look at the competitive landscape, got to call this out. And this, again, I think go-to-market strategy doesn't make sense. I would have waited if I was Anthropic. You know they're going to be dropping a new model sometime in the coming months, right? Why not wait for that new model to drop? Why not wait to get this internet connectivity thing figured out? It's a must, bare minimum to play in the enterprise. You got to offer some level of real-time data. Everything that we work on literally requires up-to-date information. Working with, information in a knowledge cutoff that's many months old, many quarters old, it's wildly dangerous for how people use it. All right, but here's the other thing. Claude right now is not a top model, right? You always want to work with the best. Don't get me wrong. When when Anthropic released Claude 3.5 Sonnet a couple of months ago, it held kind of the top model standing on the chatbot arena leaderboard, right? So the LMSYS chatbot arena leaderboard. We talk about that a lot here on the show. It's essentially a fair way to see what the best model is. People rank them blindly across different categories. And you'll see right now, Claude is technically not a top 3 model, right? You have ChatGPT 4o latest as the most powerful model, not even close. You have Gemini 1.5 Pro. That's just the version that's available on the back end, so not for the front end. Then you also have, out of nowhere, Grok 2 came out. That's also above, right? So technically it's fourth when you look at, what else is out there. So we know probably that whatever Anthropic releases next, presumably they'll be coming out with a 3.5 Haiku and a 3.5 Opus, right? So Sonnet was technically their middle model. They upgraded Sonnet from 3.0 to 3.5. So that's technically their best model is the middle model. So we've known that Anthropic any month now is going to update and, bring out a 3.5 Opus and a 3.5 Haiku. And presumably when they do, I'm guessing it's going to take over the leaderboard. So why not do that all in one swoop, right? Why not say we have the world's most powerful model. We now have access to the internet and we are bringing it to the enterprise. To me, that no brainer. Then every company out there has to give Anthropic Claude's enterprise a serious look. But right now, nope, you can't. All right. Here's the end takeaway, y'all. Claude is fantastic. All right. 3.5 Sonnet, I love using it for certain use cases. Artifacts and projects, especially artifacts, game-changing features that I think all other large language models are obviously going to have to copy. Claude is great. It's not ready for the enterprise right now. They missed the go-to-market. And when presumably, in the coming weeks, we do this all the time, companies hire us to, help them figure out their AI strategy. And they, say, hey, what are the best tools? What are the best large language models? What should we be using? Still can't recommend Anthropic Claude. Don't get me wrong. I want to recommend Anthropic Claude Enterprise. But they messed this up, y'all. It's not ready right now. Again, for the majority. Will it fit certain teams? Absolutely. Will it fit certain companies? Absolutely. But your average enterprise company that wants a large language model, their large language model of choice, right? In the same way that you have to select an operating system, right? You say, are we Mac or PC, right? Are we, what's our CRM? You choose one. Most companies are going to be choosing, if they haven't already, a large language model, right? What's our email service provider? What's our operating system? When we give phones out, what system, right? You make a decision. What is our in-house large language model that we're giving to our company for the front end? Not talking about building on the back end. What are we giving our users to use on the front end? Claude Enterprise across the board today, it's not it. All right. Let's see. I think I saw one or two questions, maybe a comment as we wrap it up here. Monica says, love Perplexity, using it more for personal life, but should integrate it professionally too. Everyone should use it. It's the best. Yeah, big Perplexity fan, right? Answers engines. That's why, Google has shifted toward that way. That's why ChatGPT, OpenAI coming out with Search GPT. So Jay is asking, still blows my mind. Models aren't connected to the internet. Is there a good reason? Jay, I'm sure there is, right? I'm sure to maintain a certain level of output, having the kind of an internet connected large language model, I'm sure brings along risks, right? Risks that I don't technically understand from, being a multi-billion dollar company, an AI startup. But for consumers need it, right? Enterprise leaders are demanding it. We talk to them all the time, right? One of the things companies love about ChatGPT Enterprise is it's connected to the internet when you need it to be, right? And you want to bring your workflow all within that kind of AI chatbot window. You want to be able to work with your files. You want to be able to work in a secure environment, and you want to be able to quickly bring in real-time information. You don't want to be working with information that's 5, 6, 7, 8 months old, because like I said, it is dangerous in terms of the output, right? More hallucinations, less likelihood to be true or up-to-date or accurate if you're working with old information. Simple as that. And the pricing. Yes, Fred. The pricing. Not a fan of that. Not a fan of that. I don't think you can base pricing on how a company is going to use it. And maybe that's not the truth, right? Maybe there are 3 tiers, but to put out a statement that essentially says, pricing depends on how a company is going to use it, that doesn't give me a lot of certainty, right? Say, hey, here's the 3 tiers we have, depending on usage. This many tokens or this many messages, 1, 2, and then 3 is unlimited. Your company of 5,000 users can use it to their heart's content. Sure, if you got to pay, I don't know, a couple $100, sure, whatever. But you can't put out statements that it looks like, pricing is an unknown. It's going to scare away more people than are going to fill out that form. All right. That's it, y'all. I hope this was helpful. Like I said, the 3 reasons businesses, I don't think right now, should be using Anthropic Claude's new enterprise company. Maybe 4 with the pricing, but number 1, no internet access. Number 2, very limited third-party integrations. And number 3, the free and even the baseline paid tier are so limited that companies can't even give it a real test drive. All right. I hope this was helpful, y'all. If so, if you haven't already, please share this with someone. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you are. Check out the show notes. I always leave my LinkedIn URL. Maybe you want to, you need some help on AI strategy. Feel free to reach out to us. Put my LinkedIn in there as well as our email. Share this if you found this helpful. We spend countless hours planning these shows so we can give you real, unbiased information. All right. It helps so much when you just click that repost. Share this with someone if it was helpful. And go check out our Thanks a Million giveaway while you're at it on our website, youreverydayai.com. Check out the daily newsletter. We'll be wrapping today's and recapping today's podcast. Hope it was helpful, and I hope to see you back tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.